welcome to Cabernet Chronicles. I'm Aimee Lynn.
And I'm the Peanut Gallery, Donny.
Yeah, there's peanut gallery back there, but it's fine.
You're the laugh track.
Yeah, we got our laugh track in the back. That's true, actually. We got our laugh track. Just make sure you guys cackle really loud when you do, okay?
We're just getting started with Cabernet Chronicles,
Yes.
so we've been going for a little bit here.
Yeah, it's been happening for a while. Oh my God.
Got it all dialed in.
We had a lot of technical difficulties. Okay. So, Donnie, have you ever been to the Empire State Building?
Not yet. I've been to New York, and I've been really close, but I haven't actually been to the Empire State Building.
Same. That is exactly what I have experienced as well. So we should maybe go to it.
Right?
Because
Cabernet Chronicles field trip.
Okay.
Sounds rad.
I mean, that would be fun.
Yeah, let's not get into that.
We are.
So, what's today's episode about?
Today's episode is about most likely the Empire State Building, since I'm asking you about it. So the Empire State Building is a point of pride for New York. It's a symbol of New York, and it is actually named one of the 7 wonders of the modern world by the American Society of Civil Engineers. And it was also ranked first on the American Institute of Architects list of America's favorite architecture.
So wait, you said modern wonders of the world. Is that
Yes.
different from the okay?
Yes. So the 7 wonders of the world are things like
a different list than the modern
Yes.
list. Okay.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yes. It was finished in 1931, and at the time it was the world's tallest building at 102 stories and 1,454 feet. So everyone is celebrating the opening of the Empire State Building, except New York firefighter captain Patrick Walsh is concerned about emergency preparedness and the sheer logistical nightmare of evacuating 3,500 people that would be in the offices.
I mean, as the captain of a fire department, let's just institute the fire pole straight down the middle of that bad boy. No skirts.
Yeah, I'd feel like that would you would mess up your hands so badly with that.
You use your legs. You clamp the pole with your legs, and if you've got pants on, then that's what drives the speed. But I mean, anyway.
Well, but then there's going to be someone who unclamps their thighs,
Yeah.
and then they end up just falling.
Just domino effect
77
all the way down.
stories.
Okay, well, that wasn't very well thought out.
No, that
but
wasn't at all. This
it
is
sounded
why
fun.
you don't design buildings.
That's right. 100%.
So at the time, though, pilots were able to go as low as 1,103 feet through New York, and the Empire State Building is 1,400 feet.
Sounds like the regulators were a little out of sync there.
Yes, they were at the time. However, it still gets the okay to open, and on May 1st, 1931, it opens, and it has a very successful, very nonchalant, nothing happens run until July of 1945, because this is the story of the 1945 Empire State Building plane crash.
And when did it open?
1931.
31. 45. Made it 14 years?
It made it 14 years with no incidences.
Wow. Well, that sounds like government for you. The 15-year delta and getting the freaking height for altitude. Come on. All right, okay.
Well, so back then, they didn't make regulations until something bad happened.
Oh, that doesn't sound like a good idea.
Yeah. So they didn't do that. And it is the morning of Saturday, July 28th. It is 1945, and it is elevator operator Betty Lou Oliver's last day of work. I don't know why I did it that way, but I
I'm
did.
pretty sure you knew what I was thinking, but anyway.
Yes. So Betty Lou Oliver's last day of work at the Empire State Building, she has been working there in order to save money for her upcoming wedding. And now her fiance is back from war and they are ready to get married and travel. But she has no idea that this morning, July 28th, is going to change her life forever. Because what she doesn't know is on the horizon, it is gray, it is humid, and there is lots of fog. And 27-year-old Lieutenant Colonel William Franklin Smith Jr. is piloting a converted B-25 Mitchell bomber nicknamed Old John Feather Merchant.
Sorry, what was that?
Old John Feather Merchant.
Feather Merchant. Are we selling pillows in this thing?
Old John Feather Merchant.
Sounds like something out of Bridgerton.
Right? It kind of does sound like something from Bridgerton. That is the nickname for the plane, and it is on a routine traffic transport mission from Bedford Army Airfield down to LaGuardia.
It was a civilian plane now that's been converted.
It is still an Army military plane, and they're doing a military transport in the United States. However, it's been converted, so there's no guns, there's nothing like that for the war, and it's being piloted by William Franklin Smith, who is a very experienced combat pilot and everything. And it has two people on it. So 31-year-old Staff Sergeant Christopher Dmitrovich. He is sitting in the co-pilot seat, but he is not the co-pilot. He is actually the man who converted the airplane for civilian use. Oh. So he's the one who took off all the stuff. Okay. And then they have a tag-along, which is 19-year-old Navy aviation machinist mates Albert Perna. And he tagged along last minute because he had found out that his brother had just passed away in the war, and he wants to get to his parents' house in Brooklyn. Oof. So most times, like especially now when it's foggy, you fly by what's called IFR, which is instrument. You use your instruments and everything like that. But at the time, the misconception was that if you're flying in a high traffic area, it would interfere with your instruments. So Smith is relying strictly on VFR, which is visual.
I think it's an instrument flight reference and visual flight reference.
Yes, it is. And so he's just doing visual, and it is foggy, it's humid. Yes. You're seeing what might be happening.
As I say, at the very least, you probably want to pay attention to your altimeter despite the VFR, because if you know that there's things at the height of 1,400 feet.
Well, but part of it though is IFR. Now there's sensors on planes, and then it will tell you exactly which sensor to go to. So you don't even have to look out the window almost. You just go to the sensor. They didn't have that then. Ooh. So he's just visually.
I was going to say 30s and 40s is still very early.
Yes.
Aeronautical developments.
But what also compounds is that at the time, military air traffic and civilian air traffic did not even talk to each other.
Oh, God.
And so he flies down to LaGuardia trying to land, but they had no idea he was even coming because they didn't say anything. It wasn't scheduled, but also they have no room for him. So what they do is they actually divert him to Newark. But in doing that, he then gets in a holding pattern over Manhattan. Oh. Due to the fog, he is told to do the holding pattern, and then he's also warned that the top of the Empire State Building is not visible because of the fog.
But no altimeter?
He has an altimeter. However,
can't.
And this comes up.
told
He
to go
doesn't know the
VFR.
area very well.
Yeah, so he's told to go VFR.
He's told to go
But also
VFR.
is told that the tip of the tower isn't visible.
Isn't visible.
Mm,
So,
that sounds murky.
because of the fog, yes. And foggy. Because of the fog and Smith not knowing much about the area, the theory is that he mistook the East River for the Hudson River.
Ruh-roh.
So he turned early towards the south, thinking that he was coming into Newark.
Oh shit.
But so he should have turned left, but he turned right is what ended up happening. So
Whoops.
and in that area, you turn left and then you start your descent to go into Newark.
Yeah.
So he does that. And the old John Feather Merchant drops down to 650 feet,
Oh God.
thinking it's time to land. But now they are in the middle of Manhattan, flying by buildings.
Ooh, that sounds bad. Pull up.
Yeah, according to
hard. Hit the
B-25
fucking gas.
history. Yes,
Jesus.
exactly. According to B-25 history, quote, Lieutenant Colonel Smith narrowly missed the Grand Central Office building near Park Avenue on the 22nd floor.
Wow.
Flight 0577 banked and narrowly missed the building, then narrowly missed 500 Fifth Avenue.
Oof.
The B-25 Mitchell bomber was flying so close to the buildings that the occupants in the buildings surrounding the plane could see the faces of the people in the cockpit.
Oh my God.
The loud roar and the vibrations shook off items off the shelves and tables, end quote. So he is literally
Holy shit.
in the middle of fucking Manhattan, flying through the buildings, like flying by the buildings.
That's good news for the dry cleaners because there'll be a lot of
There's
going to
be a lot of brown pants.
That's right. Holy cow.
Oh, I didn't wear my brown pants today. So Smith is going all through Manhattan with his plane, and he tries his hardest to gain altitude and steer out of Manhattan, but he is not able to gain the altitude fast enough.
Do we know what the plane was? Was it a McDonnell Douglas or a Boeing?
It was a B-25 Mitchell bomber.
Is that a Boeing plane? I don't know.
I have no idea.
Oh, I was just
I thought
curious.
that all of those, like, if it's a B-25,
I was trying to
maybe
imagine
it's a Boeing. I don't know.
I was trying to imagine like the voice because I know like the voice for the pilots when they need to pull up is different in the Airbus.
Pull up.
Yeah, versus
up,
like
yeah.
the Boeing planes. So I was just trying to get that.
I'm
visual.
going to guess because it was World War II
Probably like McDonnell Douglas. Or
that it
maybe
wasn't
Boeing.
like Boeing like was around, but it wasn't like as big as it is now.
We're really shy on our Boeing / aeronautical facts here. So sorry.
I mean, apparently we got to
There's wonder.
we
There's
got to
wonder.
go to the Museum of Flight.
yeah, totally.
We'll have to do that.
It's on the
just
docket
to see. I honestly have no idea. Like,
I don't know either. I'm not 100% sure.
it's North American Aviation.
Oh, wow.
Thank you, fact checker Mallory.
Hey. North American Aviation.
North
okay.
American
Well,
Aviation.
I mean, back then they probably didn't have the pull-up sound, but I could hear it in like
Yeah, pull up.
the
yeah.
current day events.
Yes.
is
Oh yeah, current
automated,
day
yep.
it would absolutely
pull up.
pull up. Pull up.
Yeah.
Yes. So that's not happening. Obviously, he is going by all these buildings. People are looking out their office like, "Oh, hi, airplane going by us."
Wishful thinking on my part.
Yes. And so at 9:40 a.m., the old John Feather Merchant slams into the Empire State Building between the 78th and 80th floors.
Does that thing budge?
So what happens is it hits it. It literally makes a hole right through it, basically, but it just sways. So there is no actual structural damage to the Empire State,
Oh, so
State Building,
lucky. Wow.
which I was gonna get to. It's like way back here.
Sorry.
It's okay.
My
No,
brain
Great.
will not turn off.
That's a great question, though. That's a great question. So what happened is they punch a hole right through where the offices of the War Relief Services and the National Catholic Welfare Council is. And one engine shot through the building completely and started a fire in the next building, which is the Astoria building.
The next building.
Yes.
Oh my God.
A huge fireball erupts and reaches 100 feet up. Windows explode even as high as the observation deck, which is 30 stories up.
Oh my God.
One stroke
Wow.
of luck about this like tragedy and accident is that it's a Saturday. So not as many people are there working in their offices.
In general, yeah.
However,
It's all
there are
tourists.
still 18 people working in the War Relief Services office,
Yeah.
and 10 of those people are killed
Man,
instantly.
trying to get ahead on a Saturday. Sheesh.
There are also a lot of people on the observation deck. Even though it's foggy, there's still about 50 or 60 people on the
if you
observation
plan a vacation to New York and you're going to go to the Empire State Building, doesn't matter what the weather's doing.
Exactly.
You're going
You're
to go.
gonna go.
Try.
So there's office workers, there's
Man.
elevator operators,
Yeah.
and then there's also the people on the observation deck.
Man.
One person on the observation deck is actually U.S. Army Lieutenant Alan Aimee, and he is there with his wife, and he sees the plane coming out of the fog, and he throws his wife to the ground and covers her to protect her.
Oof.
They say that they felt the impact, and it felt like the building swayed like a tree would in a tropical storm.
I mean, you got to imagine that plane's probably going well over 100 miles an hour.
It's going 250. Sorry, I forgot to say that part.
Holy cow.
Yes, it is going 250 miles an hour through the heart of Manhattan.
But that is a testament to the engineering and the welders, the welders in particular, doing good welds, helping hold all of that steel.
Yes.
While a 250 mile an hour object smashes into it, it just sways like a tree. It did what it was supposed to do, but
that's
man,
exactly what it's supposed to do. Is it's supposed to sway. That's the engineering marvel of it, actually. So they feel that happen, but they also feel the heat from the explosion, but they are safe on the observation deck. With skyscrapers, you have to have deep foundations.
But even if you have deep foundation, if your welds are shit, you're not fucking.
Because what happens too is they're made for earthquakes.
Yeah.
So if you're in a skyscraper and an
that's
earthquake
engineering.
happens, you're like,
That's 100% engineering for
holy
sure.
shit.
And then the execution is at that
Same
welding
thing.
level, though.
Happened where it swayed, which is what it was supposed to do.
So back in, it's not to get too sidetracked here, but back in like 2001?
One is the Nisqually earthquake.
Yeah, there was a Nisqually earthquake. And the building I was in downtown
Swayed,
in
yeah.
Seattle, it felt like, if you've ever seen like a cartoon where they ripple the carpet under.
So that earthquake was a rippled earthquake like that. You could literally see the ground ripple.
It happened in the building I was in. I went to stand up, and it felt like the floor got rippled out from underneath me. And so, I mean,
I was in 7th grade when that happened.
I may or may not have been a professional already working as an adult.
I was in
Never mind that.
I was in my science building in middle school.
But that was crazy. I mean, to feel that. I mean, and that was a 6.8.
No, but we could.
That was a 6.8.
Yeah, we
earthquake.
could see the ripples. And actually, the reason why that wasn't as bad as it could have been was because it was more of a ripply one.
Oh,
if it was
interesting.
a strike fault, like if it was like
an immediate jut
yeah,
up or
then
down.
it would have been different.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I'll talk about more earthquakes later. Like we're going to talk a lot about earthquakes because we're going to talk about the big one too. But right now we're talking about, all right. So everyone on the observation deck is safe and alive, even though they all felt the fireball and everything. Lieutenant Colonel William Franklin Smith Jr., Staff Sergeant Christopher Dimitrovich, and Navy Aviation Machinist Mate Albert Perna
The-
die
the-
instantly.
The fucking firefighter who was like, "This is gonna be chaos," was like, "I fucking knew it."
I'm sure he was. I'm sure he was. So one of the sad things about Albert Perna dying, though, is that he wasn't supposed to be on that flight. He had.
He's trying to go home.
He was just trying to go home because his brother had just died in World War II. So now his parents have 2 sons that they
kids.
are burying.
Oh God.
But also, one of the more morbid things about it is that his body was not found for 2 days because it was ejected and he ended up at the bottom of an elevator shaft. On the 79th floor, 18 people are working in the War Relief Services offices and 11 are killed.
Oof.
The plane's nose and engine continue to move through the building and hits the elevator bank, throwing elevator operators out of their cars, including Betty Lou Oliver.
Out of their cars.
Yeah, out of the elevator cars. Because back then, elevator operators would sit on whatever floor it was until someone pressed the thing to go
and then
down.
They go down to it. Yeah.
So they are thrown out, including Betty Lou Oliver, and she is thrown from her elevator on the 80th floor. She broke her back, her neck, and her pelvis, as well as she sustained some burns.
Jesus.
She survives that part.
Wow.
The blast is so loud that several nearby fire stations just start heading to the Empire State Building before the call even comes in.
I'll bet.
There are 2 fires that are raging, one on the 78th and 79th floors and the other in the Astoria building, which is next door where the engine fell onto.
I was going to say, I think they put fuel into the wings, so if the center hits and everything kind of collapses around, if it doesn't penetrate the building, it's going to bounce off and go wherever it goes, right? So, I mean, you've got things...
Well, that was the 100-foot fireball that also happened, was all of that fuel instantly went up.
There you go. Yep. Wow.
And so in the Empire State Buildings, firefighters are actually able to use some of the service elevators to get up to the 67th floor. They have to walk then to the remaining 11 flights and they get there and extinguish the fire within 40 minutes. And it is actually still to this day the highest structural fire that they've ever brought under control. Like the New York City firefighters have ever brought it under control. Yeah. So at 77 stories, 78 stories, they were able to put it out. So while this is all happening, dozens of doctors, nurses, EMTs all fill in to come and help. They are coming in to help. It's also wartime, and a lot of people are in New York coming back from Europe and everything.
Yep.
So there's lots of people there who are ready and willing to help. First responders. Yes. First responders find Betty Oliver and put her on a stretcher and take her down to the 75th floor where they put her in an elevator. However, they don't realize that the other engine has fallen down that shaft and has snapped multiple cables and started a third fire below.
Oh, no.
So as soon as they put Betty's stretcher into the elevator, the last cable snaps, sending Betty down 75 stories.
Oh, they didn't have the brakes yet on the... Oh, no. That was
she
before the
goes
brakes.
1,000 feet down. It's a
there's nothing left to
1,000
break at that point. Fuck
foot
it.
drop. She has no cables. Literally, like, they just put her stretcher in and down she goes. Betty falls down 75 stories. That's a 1,000-foot drop. She survives thanks to 17-year-old Donald Maloney. Not Mahoney. Oh, my gosh. Maloney, a pharmacy mate with the Army. He is visiting New York, and he had actually planned on going up the Empire State Building to the observatory deck, but it's foggy, so he decides to try to wait till to see if the fog releases. But he sees the plane hit the Empire State Building.
Wow.
So he runs into a Walgreens and goes and grabs a bunch of gauze, rubbing alcohol, morphine, anything he thinks he needs.
Morphine over the counter?
Morphine over the counter back then.
That's back in the day.
Yes, yes. And like all of them have heard and seen it happen. So they're like, yeah, here, take it.
I bet by now. Shit.
Yeah. So he goes and then he takes all his supplies back to the Empire State Building and he's like, all right, I'm going to do whatever I can to help. And he sees an elevator bank that has been crashed and he convinces other firefighters to come over and check it out. And it's elevator 6, which is the elevator that Betty has now fallen down from. So the impact of the 75-story drop has jammed the doors closed.
Yeah, I'll
And
bet.
so the firefighters work to cut a hole in the side of the elevator. They
Wait.
find
What?
yeah.
How do you cut a hole in the side? Oh, you're cutting through the doors to get through the...
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I was going to say, because the elevator shaft should be concrete going all the way up or something. Like, how would you get into the side of it? But it's got to be the doors aren't opening, and so they're cutting into the doors.
Yeah, they're cutting
get
into like the side of the door.
They're
Yeah.
cutting into the car.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
And so they're cutting into the side of the car and they find Betty trapped under debris, but she is still alive. On top of that broken back, neck, and pelvis she had, now both of her legs are broken.
Jesus.
So Maloney is the only one small enough to fit through the hole. So he climbs inside the elevator in order to help her get out. It takes them an hour to get her out of the elevator.
I'll bet. I mean, everything's broken. Everything's probably shooting
But also,
pain.
they can't get the doors open, so they're literally
Trying to work
cutting
her out of
open a hole,
Yeah.
bigger hole to get her out.
Trying
And
not to
she's
burn
on a
her the way
stretcher.
out.
She's
God.
on a stretcher. She has a
Yeah.
broken back, broken neck, broken pelvis, 2 broken legs now. So they get her out. They rush her to the hospital, and she gets to the hospital. So 25 people are injured, but Betty suffers the worst of the injuries.
No kidding.
However, in only 8 months, she makes a full recovery.
How old was she?
She was 21.
Oh, that's
21?
why. Yeah, she's young
Wait.
enough to be able to make that type of recovery.
Hold on. I gotta see when she was born. And do math.
Yeah, 21.
Yeah,
sounds
21.
Like,
She's
yeah,
21.
21 sounds viable, right?
Yeah.
Like you could recover from that.
So
like if
she's-
you're in your 60s,
she's
you're
21.
not coming back.
Yeah, so she's 21 and she
Wow.
makes a full recovery. 14 lives are lost. Three of the crew, like the flight crew, and 11 people in the office. And there is $1 million of damage, which, do you want to guess how much that is today?
God, back in the day, well,
1945.
45, $1 million.
$1 million.
That's got to be like $450 million worth of damage.
No, that's way too high.
High?
Yeah, it's only 17.5 million.
Oh, that's fucking nothing. Wow, really? I would have thought it would have been a lot higher. than that.
$17.5 million is nothing.
But 17 by contrast to 1, I would have thought in this day and age, with the way that the inflation has gone, it'd be like way more money. That's actually pretty low. I would have thought it would have been like hundreds of millions of
Well,
dollars.
it also kind of shows like how it just punched through and it didn't create as much structural damage as it could have.
Huh.
So the building has the damage, but structurally it's fine. And not even 48 hours later, on that Monday morning, most offices are open for business.
Wow.
So they just go back to fucking work 48
Were
hours
labor
later.
laws in place yet? Jeez, holy
like-
cow.
No.
Yeah,
it's
they're-
fucking
they're just like,
1945.
Yeah, we'll board up the windows. Get your ass back to work. God.
So it takes only 3 months for all the repairs to be completed. And all that remains of the crash is a piece of limestone that has been charred. And they kept it there as a memorial to the people who died in the crash.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
amazeballs.
So one reason why you probably haven't heard about this, I didn't hear about this for a long time either.
It took me 43 years of being in existence.
Yes, is because 1 week later is when America dropped the bombs on Japan and ended World War II.
Oh, wow.
So that got
Brushed-
overshadowed.
Yeah, I was going to say, kind of brushed under the carpet at that point.
Yes.
They got much bigger news.
They got way bigger news. But let's circle back to Betty Lou Oliver and her miraculous survival. So an inspection of elevator 6 led experts to believe 2 reasons why she survived. One was that the cables had already snapped and they coiled down at the bottom, creating like a cushion. For the shaft to come on.
That's a lot of cable to create some level of cushion for
But
that.
also, the second is that the rapid 1,000-foot drop in such a small space created a pillar of air that was
vacuum.
compressed.
Yeah. Oh, okay. There you go. Not a vacuum, but a compression.
Yeah, it was compressed,
Which
so it slowed her
forcibly
down.
pushed it down. Wow, that's crazy.
So it slowed her down. And in fact, actually, this was an engineering problem for the Tower of Terror in Disneyland, where they could not figure out how to get it to actually, like, because if they just released it, the same kind
didn't
of
go down
pressure,
fast-
it wouldn't go
fast
fast enough.
Yep.
So what they have for the Tower of Terror
Create
is they
vacuum.
no, they have a cable on the bottom of the car
Pulling?
and they pull it down.
Holy shit.
And that's why it goes so fast.
That's interesting.
because they couldn't get it to do it naturally.
I was going to say, like, you'd almost think that some sort of air evacuation would help get
But it's
the
such
pressure
a
out.
it's an enclosed space.
No, but that's my point. Like, in an enclosed space, if you could get some sort of extracting mechanism, like a fan that has high CFM
Yeah.
to pull all the air out at the speed at which
Well, they
things
have
fall,
that to do that as well
probably in compound with the cable.
because it does.
But
It's
there
still
must be
not fast
yeah,
enough.
I was gonna say there must be some sort of physics
Like
limitation.
not saying that if you drop 1,000 feet, like, and there's not that there, that you're not gonna still
no,
like,
no,
get
no,
hurt
yeah.
and
But
everything.
there's probably a physics limitation of how fast you can
Yes.
intentionally.
No,
drop
so
something.
that's literally what Disney had to do is they had to
Interesting.
figure out how to get it so they could make it as fast as
Yep.
they wanted for
Yank
the
it
ride
down. Yeah,
because
yeah.
it was slowing down because of the air in the small space. So
Interesting.
they actually have a cable on the bottom of the car.
Wow, just actually,
pulls it
yeah,
down.
probably like an electric motor. Just
No, it's literally like so the Tower of Terror literally is like the cars.
Yep.
And there's the upper ones that pull it up.
Yep.
And then the down one that pulls it down.
Well, the one that pulls it down, though, I'm guessing is probably going on a spool of some sort.
Oh,
powered
well,
by an
yeah,
electric
yeah,
motor.
yeah,
Right,
probably.
So electric motor just yanks
Probably,
it right down.
yes.
Because there's no.
It's a hydraulic motor.
It's hydraulic.
I'm pretty sure it's hydraulic. Yeah.
I mean, that makes sense if you look at hydraulics and like lowriders and things like that. Like the minute that you flip a switch, it
goes down,
dumps. Yeah, it's dumping oil out of the system.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
But
interesting.
literally, that's how they got.
Okay,
they
more
got
research
over
is
that.
needed.
Yeah. Did you never watch the Disney Imagineers show on fucking Travel Channel when you were a child? Because I did.
No.
Why
yeah,
don't you
no.
know more about the Disney Imagineer fucking Tower of Terror stuff?
I mean,
God.
for better or worse, I think the Travel Channel was just getting started when I started driving, and I was like, fuck television at that point. I had better things to do.
Okay, well, so that's what they had. Like, they had to contend with this air pocket that ends up happening, which is what saved her from dying.
It's right about the time that picture-in-picture became a thing that was marketable. I'm old.
Yes. So while it takes Betty Lou Oliver 8 months to make a full recovery, she returns 5 months later to ride an elevator up to the top. Badass.
Does she have crazy eyes by chance?
No. She one of the articles, literally the title is The Woman Who Unlucky Betty who got who didn't who survived twice in one day, basically, who should have died twice in one day. And so and I understand this because I've had the same kind of thing happen with me.
You've
where
died twice in one day.
no, where you have something traumatic happen to you.
Yes.
So then you, in order to kind of get
Conquer
over
it.
and conquer it and heal, you then go to that place that it happened, and you're like, oh, hey, look. So she went and rode that same elevator back up to the top and then back down. And she went on to get married. She moved to Fort Smith, Arizona. She had...
Where the hell is that? I'm from Arizona.
Obviously,
I haven't even heard of that.
somewhere in Arizona.
Fort Smith.
She had 3 children, 7 grandchildren, and she lived a very happy, healthy life until she passed away in November 24th, 1999, at the age of 74. And to this day, she still holds the world record for the longest survived elevator drop.
Wow. Holy cow.
And
That's not a record I think I would want to hold.
Yeah, that's definitely not a record that I want to hold either. But she still holds that to this day, world record for the longest survived elevator drop. And that is the story of the 1945 plane crash of the Empire State Building.
That's crazy.
Yes, very crazy. It's good and bad and in between and everything. But yes, thank you so much for joining us. Like and subscribe.
What a wild ride.
What a wild ride. It's been crazy. Bye.